everybody. So, part 2. I felt like I needed to make a part 2 to clarify a few things that I talked about in my previous video about this topic, which was put together in a hurry. I had literally jumped into the shower and washed my hair so I wouldn't look awful, because I needed that much to speak up about this topic. Rape jokes are not funny when you use them to make the victim feel threatened or upset. Jokes about rape can be funny if the comedian does it right, but that's a very fine line to walk, and not many people can walk that line. George Carlin is an example of a comedian who was able to handle the issue without making any of his audience members feel this way. He didn't crack rape jokes at the expense of rape victims, he did it at the expense of rapists. This is not a free speech issue. Daniel Tosh has not been arrested for his stupid jokes, and that's fine with me. He doesn't need to go to jail for what he did. He does, however, need to change his delivery of his infamous rape jokes. Instead of making it be about the victim, he needs to make it be about the rapist. He needs to make the rapist feel bad, not the victim. Having said that, I want to take a minute to address the things that I mentioned last time. Number 1, some of you out there don't really understand what rape is. Rape has nothing to do with attraction and everything to do with power and violence. A man does not rape a woman because he thinks she's hot. He does it because he wants to dominate, subdue, and humiliate her. Number 2, statistics are tricky. Just because approximately 1 in 20 men are rapists does not mean you're gonna find exactly 1 in 20 men in a group of 100 men that are rapists. Plus, some men who are counted as rapists in that statistic are actually statutory rapists as opposed to rapists by force. I didn't make that clear last time I talked about this, but that's why I wanted to clear it up this time. Number 3, also, just for clarification, begging and pleading and demanding isn't sexual assault or rape. It's sexual harassment, which is also a crime and should be avoided at all costs if you're a decent human being. Number 4, no does not mean yes. If a woman asks you to stop, then stop. Don't assume she's playing hard to get. Stop what you're doing and make sure she is comfortable before you decide, with her permission, to proceed or not. Number 5, consent is pretty straightforward. However, just because you got consent last night doesn't mean you have consent forever. So your best bet is just to ask every time. Even if you're married, you don't want to just assume that it's okay. Always ask first. Always. Number 6, men can get raped too, by other men as well as by women. Women who rape actually make up 4% of the population, while men who rape make up about 6% of the population. And don't think for a second that if a man gets raped by a woman that he actually wanted it. Men can be just as vulnerable. On a not so random note, according to RAINN, every 2 minutes someone in the United States is sexually assaulted. 54% of sexual assaults are not reported to the police. 73% of all sexual assaults are perpetrated by someone known to the victim. Specifically, 38% of rapists are a friend or an acquaintance. 28% are intimate with the victim, married or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And 7% are relatives. This leaves only 27% of rapists who don't know their victims. 44% of victims are under the age of 18 and 80% are under the age of 30. 97% of rapists who commit rape and sexual assault will not spend even 1 day in jail. There is something terribly wrong with this. And finally, as I mentioned in my previous video about this topic, if you've been sexually assaulted or raped, get in touch with RAINN. They will help you with your situation. So take advantage of that. And if there's anything I forgot to mention, leave a comment below and I'll try to get to it next time. Be good to each other. Later, taters.